mynews.studio.
Portugal's power grid managed to withstand Europe's most severe blackout, and then went on to set renewable energy records. Can a crisis really push a country to change for good?
Today is February 16th, 2026. Let's start with what happened. Last April, more than 60 million people in Portugal and Spain lost power for over 12 hours. It was the biggest outage in Europe in 2 decades. Metro systems stopped, traffic lights went dark, even emergency services were hit. At least 4 people lost their lives. Many immediately pointed fingers at renewable energy. But was that really the culprit?
No, and that's an important point. The official report found the blackouts started with mistakes at conventional power plants and weak grid planning, not renewables. That changed the debate. Instead of pulling back on renewables, Portugal decided to upgrade its grid to avoid another crisis. So, what exactly did they change?
They took a broad approach, not just focusing on electricity supply, but also on infrastructure, system flexibility, and how demand is managed. They brought in a range of stakeholders from early on. And the result? This January, Portugal got 80.7% of its electricity from renewables. That's 4,420 gigawatt hours out of 5,479. Only Norway did better in Europe.
The generation mix is also telling. Hydropower made up nearly 37%, wind provided about 35%, and solar added around 4%. Here's something else. In January, there were 210 separate hours when renewables alone met all of Portugal's electricity needs. And this happened during major storms, and right when demand hit a record. On January 6th, the country passed 10 gigawatts of consumption for the first time.
That brings up a key question. Have households and businesses in Portugal seen real benefits from this increase in renewables? Or could there be drawbacks that are obvious?
The advantages are tangible. Shifting to renewables saved an estimated €703 million compared to using natural gas. Wholesale electricity prices averaged €71 per megawatt hour, nearly 27% lower than last year. For many, that results in lower energy bills. And grid reliability improved. Portugal managed an 8% jump in consumption without major outages, even though storms did cause some local problems.
But is the grid genuinely more stable, or was Portugal just fortunate this time?
Looking at the data, it points to real progress. Renewables covered the entire national demand for those 210 hours, and Portugal only imported 5.6% of its electricity that month. That shows less dependence on imports and a more stable grid.
Still, there's a bigger issue here. Can Europe's entire grid system handle more countries switching to distributed renewables, especially since most grids were built for centralized fossil fuel plants? The European Commission estimates €584 billion is needed for grid investment by 2030.
So, what lessons can others take from Portugal? Is it about priorities, speed, or something different?
It's a mix of things. Portugal shows that moving fast, coordinating planning across different sectors, and updating the grid alongside adding renewables is crucial. The €703 million in monthly energy savings now help pay for these grid improvements.
So the takeaway isn't just add renewables, it's upgrade the grid at the same time. If you don't, you get bottlenecks and reliability drops.
Right. Portugal's experience shows that rapid decarbonization is possible, and it can make economic sense, but only if the infrastructure keeps up.
To sum up, Portugal used a blackout as a turning point for grid modernization, now runs on 80.7% renewables, and saves hundreds of millions in the process. The real hurdle isn't renewables themselves, but making the necessary grid investments, and Portugal is offering a working example.
Thanks for listening as we followed Portugal's progress from blackout to renewable leader, showing how crisis can lead to practical change.
And thank you for joining us. This episode was brought to you by mynews.studio. You can try it now for free.